What's up, guys? Today we're going to wire tie a jig for bass fishing. So we're going to start with a jig head that we created in one of the last videos. If you haven't seen that one, I've got the link in the description below. So we're going to start with this. We're going to wire tie a skirt on, and you're probably wondering, why do we want this wire tied? So there's a couple different reasons why wire tying is better than just the plastic jig skirt collar like that you see on this jig. So this jig has got a little plastic collar there, and that's what's keeping the skirt up on the jig head. And the reason why we want that with wire instead of a rubber band is because it's going to make that jig skirt flare more. Not only that, it's going to help us if we're skipping. So if we're skipping a jig around docks and stuff, that rubber band can actually get a little bit, or can not be as tight to that jig, and actually the skirt can fall down on the jig if you don't have good enough keeper on it. So that's a couple different reasons why we want to wire tie. So let's take a look at some of the equipment we're going to need in order to build these jigs today. All right, some of the stuff we're going to need is a jig head, like the one that we built up last time. This one is a 3/8 ounce Arky style jig. We're going to need an 1/8 inch drill bit, a fiber guard or a weed guard. They sell them by the 100 packs. You get them on Tackle Warehouse, Barlow's, Jan's Netcraft, pretty much anywhere that sells fishing tackle or just custom making jig products. We're going to need some super glue. We're going to need a pair of needle nose pliers, a pair of side cutters, and then this is crafting wire that I got at Hobby Lobby. Basically, you find it in a little floral section with all the fake plants. Basically, it's like a wire that's very kind of malleable, and it's used a lot in, I guess, women's or some sort of floral thing. I don't know. It ties up a good jig, so that's what we're going with. All right, and as far as recipe for this jig skirt's concerned, what we're going to do is we've got a little 3-inch section of brown old school, I think it's medium round rubber. We've got some orange silicone, and then we've just got a tab of regular green pumpkin. It's kind of got some black flake in there. You should be able to match that, kind of looking at jig skirts on Tackle Warehouse. So those are the 3 things we're going to need for this jig. All right, I know how anxious you guys are to get this jig finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with the jig. We're going to make a few modifications to this jig first. First, we're going to take the drill bit, and because when we paint it, it can kind of fill up this little cavity here where the weed guard goes. So it's an 1/8 inch drill bit. This weed guard is an 1/8 inch weed guard. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of take the bit end. I kind of line it up with how I want that weed guard to look. And I just you can take a drill to it if you want, but it's generally easy enough that if you don't kind of twist it a couple times, kind of just clears the paint out of there, so that way we can come back, we can fit that weed guard in there, and it fits nice and snug and kind of where we want it to. So that's what we needed the 1/8 ounce or 1/8 inch drill bit for. Okay, one more thing we're going to do to this jig head before we get going. So I know you don't see a lot of people do this, but I think it helps the jig skirt stay up on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these side cutters and right about there on that jig head, just right above my fingers, what I'm going to do, or right about where my fingers are, I'm going to take this and make an indention, if I can get it, make an indention in that lead. Basically what that does is it gives us a place for that wire to kind of sit and just kind of hold it tight. I might try to make that a little bit bigger. There. So just a place for that wire to kind of sit so that it doesn't slide down the hook at all. It stays right there. All right, now that we've got our jig head prepped, what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this floral wire that we got from Hobby Lobby or Michael's or whatever craft store you want. Take our side cutters and cut off about 2.5 3-inch long piece. Just like that. Kind of put a little bend in it. Lay that down. All right, so now we get to the fun part. We're going to start off by taking some of this orange here. And we don't want this whole tab in the jig. At least I don't. I just want a little hint of orange in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 strands, the 2 end strands, kind of separate them on out there. Separate on out. There we go. And then I'm just going to take a pair of scissors. These are my kindergarten scissors I picked up at Walmart for 99 cents. Just cut those 2 little ends off. Come down here and cut them off as well. Come on. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to throw this to the side. This is all we're going to use of the orange on this. And one thing I'm going to do, so I kind of kept those little tabs on the end, so they're still kind of together. I'm going to fold this piece of silicone in half. Hopefully you can see with my big hands. So fold that in half, kind of pull it out, and we're just going to cut it in half. So we've got 2 little end pieces of orange here. And we're going to take it, and what you can see is I've kind of got that wire down, and I'm going to put that off to the side for right now. And we're going to lay one to the side and lay one on the other side. Okay, so the next step in this little finesse jig is take this little 3-inch piece of round rubber. I don't know if you can see it right there. This usually comes in a wider section, and I actually cut it in half for this video because I didn't want a whole strand or a whole big old tab in this one finesse jig. So we're going to lay that down too, kind of roughly match it on top. Good Lord. Don't do that. Just, if you do, just come back through and kind of get it all fixed up and lined up. All right, there we go. So we got our orange on both sides, brown strip down the middle. I'm going to come back through with this. This is just a piece of green pumpkin. I'm going to cut this in half. And the reason why is it's just a finesse jig. I don't need a whole big old floppy skirt on there. Okay, cut her in half. Take 1 tab. We're going to put it right there. And what we're going to do next is we're going to take our jig head, put it right on the middle of that brown rubber. Come back through with this tab. Layer on the top, try to make it even. Kind of inefficient because I'm trying to look around a camera. There we go. All right, we've got the green pumpkin laid over the top, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to hold this all in place. And we're going to take one end of this craft wire. This is where it kind of gets interesting, and I'm hoping I can do it through the camera. Cross it over. Come back with the other side. It's folding on me. I'm in a really weird position here. So, kind of, you basically got to bring it tight. You're going to try to cross it over there. So once it's crossed over, we're going to bring her around to the other side. Just, the main thing is we're starting to work it tighter and tighter, and making sure that that green wire is up by that dent that we made in the jig. So we're kind of getting there. That orange, this is a good time to kind of put that orange exactly where you want it, when you've kind of got it tied a little bit, or when you've got it a little bit tight, that you don't have to sit there and hold that strand or hold that wire. So you just kind of pull that around to where you want it. Okay, so I'm going to cross this wire over on the back. And like I said, you just keep getting it tighter and tighter. Make sure it's in the right spot. And now we're going to kind of start twisting. Just twist it over on itself. And this is where we're going to come in with the needle nose pliers. We're going to take that, grip it down low, and then we're going to start twisting. Like I said, the main point of this is just to tighten that wire up. I want to keep making sure that we're up in where we want that to be. Got all the silicone where we need it, and all the, I guess, skirt material, because there's some rubber in there too. Just keep twisting until she's tight. Okay, it's tight there. Now I'm going to come through with the side dikes, cut it pretty low. You're going to have a little bit of something left, and just kind of tuck it down on there. Tuck it down on the jig. Okay, so now it looks goofy and dumb right now, but now's the fun part when it starts looking like an actual jig. So we're going to take our craft scissors again, And so all of these little tabs are together up top. So start cutting there, cut there, undo our orange, come down to our green pumpkin tab. Give that a cut. Okay. Now on the round rubber, we don't want to do that. Oh, yeah, okay, that's round rubber. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start grabbing each individual piece of it and just start separating it. This can take a little bit of time too. This is the one really time-consuming part about working with the round rubber, is it takes a while to get done. And I'm pulling it pretty tight so that it separates all the way down to the collar. Okay, once we got the top done, come down here, do the same thing with the bottom one. Okay, there we go. And that's what our jig head's looking like there, our jig's looking like there. So one thing that I'm not liking so much, and I missed some up here, I'm not liking how long this round rubber is up at the head. So one thing I'll probably do is I'll come through with the scissors and just kind of shorten it up a little bit. Just kind of make it look how I want it to look. That's the one good thing about jigs, is you can kind of cut them and make them look exactly how you want. Okay, so there we go. It's looking pretty good to me. It's got a little bit of orange in there, a little bit of orange flare. Should look pretty good with that skirt. Should, when it lays down, just kind of poof out and you see a couple of strands of orange in there. So you got one more thing to do, because if you threw this in a brush pile right now, you are screwed. All your hard work is for nothing, because we got to add that weed guard. So what we're going to do is take the weed guard, grab a little bit of super glue, put a nice little dollop on there, the end of it, take it. So that was on the, it's got like a little nub end, then it's got the fibery part. So grab our jig, just kind of clear away some of that skirt. You're going to have to hold it down. Then come through, put her on in there. And generally I like to hold it a little bit until it kind of dries a little bit, and so that way, I mean, if you get some super glue on your, especially that round rubber, it just kind of gets all nasty and turns white. So I kind of let it sit there for a little bit and let it dry. All right, our jig's kind of dry, or our weed guard's dried up there. I mean, obviously what I'll do is I'll come through and kind of trim that weed guard down a little bit, make sure it's nice and spread out, make sure it's not gonna, if I bring it over a limb, it's not gonna come across it. So I'll kind of bend it down a little bit and just make it, do your standard trimming, do a jig and all that good stuff, and just make her look good. But yeah, that's what that finished jig looks like. You throw a trailer on her, throw her in the water, and it looks good. All right, guys, that's how I go about making a little finesse jig, and kind of what it looks like, how it kind of all goes together, and how you tie it up with that wire ties skirt. And one thing you can do, so you can take a little piece of that craft wire that we had. And what we can do is we can come and grab like a jig that we got at like Bass Pro, and that doesn't have wire tie on it. And if you do want to make sure that skirt is nice and secure on there, we just kind of separate out that skirting material from top and bottom. It's going to take a little bit for you to kind of get everything situated there. But what you can do is you can come through with that wire, go above or below that jig skirt, and actually wire tie an unwire tied jig that you get from the store. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, because what we're going to go over next are the different types of material you can use in a jig skirt and how they look underwater. So we're going to look at that medium cut round rubber that we use today. We're going to look at a Finesse old school style rubber, and we're going to look at silicone and compare them and what they look like underneath the water. So subscribe for that video to come. Thanks guys, we'll see you.